Welcome to This Is My Architecture. Today, I'm joined by Robbie from Taco Bell. Welcome, Robbie.
Thanks for having me.
So for those, everybody knows Taco Bell, but for those few folks who don't, tell us what Taco Bell does.
Sure. So Taco Bell is the nation's leading Mexican-inspired QSR brand, and we serve over 42 million customers per week.
42 million is a big number.
A lot of tacos, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about your architecture here today, or at least a piece of it. What are we looking at here on the board?
Yeah, today I'm going to share what we call our menu middleware and data integration platform. This is a core system at Taco Bell and allows us to generate menus for 7,000 restaurants on multiple delivery channels.
Okay. That, being able to get a delivery has been pretty critical over the last year. Let's dive into it and show us how it works.
Awesome. So we'll start with the different sources of data. Here you see there's an Aurora MySQL database, so that's like the core centerpiece of this, where the data is going to reside. But there's different systems of entry. So we have what we call an RCC Restaurant Control Center app that we built. Really exciting. We're using Amplify to deploy a React app. And this is the restaurant hours are maintained in this database.
Cool. So the store owner can update their hours. So each one of those 7,000 stores can have their own control over what their hours are.
Yeah, and they're mostly different apps that they could be. So this has a DynamoDB backend. We also use DynamoDB streams, which is really cool here.
Nice.
So this is kind of that real-time feed into the system. So that will eventually call Lambda, and we'll load some restaurant hours tables in here.
Right, because I need to know when the store is open so I can place my order.
If you try to place an order and it's actually closed, you're not going to be very happy. So
Right, exactly.
it's up to me to make sure that gets in there very quickly.
Got it.
So the second system of entry I want to show is our product master. So that's really critical. Our data management team goes into a separate application and sets up the new products. So we come out with a crazy new taco, we come out with some burrito, that's going to end up here. Tons of other stuff goes into it, to make up that product. And then what it's going to do is they're going to do a CSV export to an S3 bucket, and it's going to trigger into a system that we created called Diablo.
Diablo. Okay, I've heard of that before.
So at Taco Bell, we like to name our internal products off of our food. So Diablo is our hot sauce, and it stands for Data Integration and Automation Batch Lambda Orchestration.
Wow, Diablo's a lot easier.
Diablo's easier, so we just call it Diablo. It's a really cool thing. So it's built on step functions for the orchestration, and it obviously calls Lambda, but the Lambdas are kind of unique. So we wrote these Python step types, and they're very generic, reusable steps. So you find out you do something a lot, you're like, this should be a step type. Write it, put it into Diablo. Anyone else can use it. So here it's taking data from a database and putting it into another database. We abstract everything out. We make it just super easy to do.
So, and that's allowing you to build a horizontal service inside of your company. You're kind of building your own internal web service. Is that accurate?
It is like a product standing on the shoulders of AWS. We love it though because we don't have to worry about the scheduling, the infrastructure. There's a lot that goes into step functions. Obviously, that's something we don't have to worry about. We just focus on the business value, which is our step types.
Smart.
And we just keep adding steps, and we just keep making our lives easier. So
I love it.
yeah, so this loads the data in here. It's a batch process, so we use EventBridge, cron schedules to make sure that gets in there at a certain time. And then the last source of data is pricing and tax information. Very critical, as you know.
Yeah, I don't want to be paying too much.
Right. And it's interesting because there's over 100 million combinations of pricing data in this this database. So it's not just 7,000 restaurants and the taco. There's modifiers, there's swap rules, there's all these complicated things that we have to maintain in this database. So again, we have something handy called Diablo. Just created a new workflow. Very quickly we were able to get this data into here as well. So that also gets loaded. So now we have, restaurant hours, we have the product information, we have the pricing and tax information. We're ready to go.
That's everything we need to create a menu.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So what happens next?
All right. So as I mentioned, there's 7,000 restaurants. There's multiple delivery aggregators and there's other channels. They're all waiting for that new product to come out, what we call an experience launch. Those are the days when we're going to have to generate basically 40,000 menus.
Right.
And we have a very small downtime. When the stores close, We do them based on time zone, but they need to get up by a certain time. So luckily we have the scalability of AWS behind us. So what we do is we just queue those up. We have an SQS queue, triggers something called a menu exporter lambda. Basically processes, takes the data from this database, spins it up how it needs to be, creates these complex JSON menus. They all have these big object menus. And the menus are very big. So you're looking at 100 gigs of just raw menu data that's passing through the wire to these delivery aggregators. So luckily we scale a lot of tacos. It scales very quickly, and it's able to process that. So what they'll do is they'll generate the menus, send it to the delivery aggregators. They'll process it when they're ready right away, or maybe a few seconds later, and then they'll send webhooks back, basically telling us if it succeeded or failed. We'll pipe that back in, and we'll mark it in an audit table that it was processed successfully. So that means that menu is now live on the restaurant.
So it's in production, and I can pull out my phone and place an order.
You can place whatever you want. It's ready to go.
Neat. So we're looking at Aurora here as a centerpiece of this architecture. Tell me a little bit about why you're using Aurora and what benefits you're getting from that.
So Aurora was perfect for us because a lot of us had a relational background, so it was comfortable for us. But they also handled the stuff we didn't care about, like the database administrative tasks, the scaling. Read replicas are just available. They can auto scale for you. So on days when we have to do that, that's very valuable. There's going to be hotspots where things are going fast. So Aurora just scales perfectly for us. And it's able to handle the massive number of lambdas that we're queuing up.
So it's a really interesting architecture, Robbie, and I love having Aurora as that centerpiece. It's all serverless. Any other benefits that you're getting from this architecture?
So we talked about the scaling. We talked about how just step functions are so flexible and everything. It's also incredibly cost effective to run this entire system. Not having to worry about the infrastructure. We have a very small, scrappy team, and we're able to do a lot with that team based on this cool platform.
Well, thank you for sharing your architecture with us today. It's really interesting. And thank you for watching. This is my architecture.